What's up, everybody? My name is Scott Waters. Welcome to nolifetilmetal. Going to be doing I don't know. We're just going to call this one Rock Haul. That's a Greg the Egg video. Rock Haul, R-A-W-K Haul. Just because I got a lot of stuff to, it's just odd stuff to show. It's not necessarily records, although there are some records in here. It's just a little bit of everything. Some things that came in the mail from friends, and I just thought some of this stuff was cool, and then I'd share it. So, first, I got this cool package from Rob Caldwell. He bought a collection and it had a bunch of Aerosmith stuff in it, and knowing that I was a big Aerosmith fan, he sent me this. So you got a custom framed flyer from the Just Push Play Tour with Cheap Trick, which is pretty cool. Yeah, pretty neat. Got to find a place for that. He also sent me a bunch of CDs. So this is Aerosmith Live in Japan 2004. I have listened to this one already. Sound quality is decent. I mean, I'm going to say, you know, on a gradient scale of A through F, F being crap, A being, you know, album quality, I'm going to say this one's like a B or B minus. It's very listenable, very good. Most likely a radio broadcast. A little compressed, but, you know, I kind of expect it for on a bootleg. He gave me this one, the Virginia Connection. Now, this is a very widely distributed bootleg. It pops up everywhere with many different names. I actually have this one as part of an Aerosmith box set as well, but always glad to have another Aerosmith disc in my collection. It doesn't matter if it's the same show and if it's another release. I tend to... Aerosmith is one of those bands I collect anything by, so very glad to have it. And then here's another one. This is called Live on Air. Just says live broadcast. I don't remember what this one... I should have looked it up. August 1994 recording. And I haven't even popped this one open yet. As you can see, it's still got the shrink on it. And then this is not a bootleg, but this is a Rockin' the Joints. This is one of those two-sided CD and DVD, you know, single disc with one side being the DVD, one side being the CD. And then an import version of their compilation, Oh Yeah, which is kind of a best-of compilation. It has a few, you know, oddities on there and some B-side tracks and stuff like that. So, very cool CD editions from Rob Caldwell. You may recognize the name Rob Caldwell. He is the guy who runs Bombworks Sound. He does a lot of mastering and remastering of different albums, and I use him almost exclusively for everything for nolifetilmetal records, and RAWK uses him, and Retroactive uses him, and just a bunch of different labels I know use Rob. He's a very good mastering guy. So next up, this package came from Jürgen from Germany, and he sent me this CD. And this is an original pressing of Thrash band Channel Zero. He sent it outside of the, without a jewel case. It's just cheaper to not have to ship plastic back and forth to each other. So really glad to have this one. I've actually only ever had a CD of this one, never owned an original pressing. So really glad to have it on Shark Records. So cool, old school thrash metal. This was probably like the late 80s, like early 90s when this one came out. But regardless, great stuff from Channel Zero. And he sent me these 3 records, which are fantastic because I wanted them, but I didn't really have the money to buy them, and he blessed me with them. So, so the striper-shaped picture disc. So this is Fallen with the Yahweh on the B side, and then this is No More Hell to Pay with Legacy on the B side. And finally, this is Goddamn Evil with Sorry on the B-side. And he sent me a nice note with it, too. It's funny because the couple of little like cracks in the plastic where the... there you go. It's just plastic. It's plastic splits and whatnot. And he apologized for it, man. You don't have to apologize. You're giving me a gift like this. This is freaking awesome, man. No apologies necessary when something is, you know, dented or beat up in the mail. Alright, so that all came from Jürgen, so that was some cool stuff, and I really wanted to share that. So, got a package from Harmless Rebel, and it's been sitting here for days, literally, almost a week, and I've just been so busy working, I haven't had time to open it. So I opened it today. I only have seen what's on the top of it. I haven't seen the rest. Because I didn't want to open a box in front of you guys, so I just figured I'd pull the stuff out and show it to you as I'm looking at it myself. So what do we have here? There is 2 records. The first one being one of my all-time favorite bands, Spinal Tap. Break Like the Wind. I love Spinal Tap. I've just been a fan ever since this Spinal Tap came out. Oh, dude. I didn't see that. Wow. So this is this is not a Spinal Tap record. That was a really good one, dude. He got me on that one. But it is Spinal Tap. This is Spinal Tap. This is a what do you call this thing? One of those record flats. I have a bunch of those things from back when the record stores used to hang up record flats. But again, Spinal Tap. This is Spinal Tap. I've been a fan ever since. I know they're they're not a real band. They're a made-up band, but I still enjoy them. I love the movie. I still watch it. I've seen it 100 times, and I still laugh every time I see it. Unlike my wife, who just sits there and I don't get it. I think if you're in a band or you're really into music, I think you get Spinal Tap, and it's just funny. But what we do have here, this is Destruction. This is awesome. This is Sentence of Death, an original pressing. Metal Blade Records. So it's an original. If it's on Metal Blade, that means it's an original U.S. pressing of their first EP. So you got Total Devastation and Black Mass on the A side, Mad Butcher, Satan's Vengeance, and Devil's Soldiers on the B side. I first heard this when I was in college. My roommate picked it up, and we played this thing over and over again. I mean, this is really, people credit bands like Death and Possessed being the beginnings of death metal, and I mean, I would too. But I also hear it in stuff like this. The whole Teutonic early stuff was just so raw, so aggressive, barely controlled chaos. So you really can hear it in this as well. But anyhow, Destruction, Sentence of Death, really glad to have that. Dude, you rule. I had no idea that was in there. Totally fooled me with that album flat. And then next we got Black Flask. Black Flask. And inside here, let's take a look, because I don't know this band either. This is Axe Killer Records? I think it is. So an independent release, most likely. 80s band. I don't know this one, so anybody who knows this one, tell me. I'm pretty sure he told me about this one, but I'm not 100% sure. But there's also looks like a promo sheet in here. Yeah, Axe Killer Records. So this is a French pressing. Axe Killer was a France label. I think that, and then Axe Killer may still even be around. I'm not 100% positive about that, but wow, dude, I'm kind of blown away by those 2 records, especially that Destruction. Did not expect that. So next up, there's some CDs in here. There's 2 in the case and a packet like this. So, this is awesome as well. So this is Sacred Reich, and obviously he's seen them recently because there's an autographed copy of their new 6-song EP. Was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8-song EP? Might as well call it a full length at that point. Which this one made my top, top 30, top 20, whatever it was of 2019. Really good old school thrash metal. I think these guys came back strong with this one, so that's awesome to have that. I only had it on vinyl, did not have it on CD, so glad to have it on the CD. This is one that will probably take a few spins to get into. We'll see. Blind Guardian, Twilight Orchestra, Legacy of the Dark Lands. I remember him telling me about this one. It didn't really do it for him, so I'll check it out. When it starts getting really into the orchestral kind of stuff and more classical than it is metal, it's kind of loses my interest and ends up becoming background noise. But really like Blind Guardian, so I'm really kind of hoping I'm gonna dig this one. But we'll find out. Like I said, I haven't heard it yet. So, and then there's a bunch of CDs in here. We tend not to send jewel cases back and forth because, what's the point of shipping jewel cases back and forth? Just keep your jewel cases, and then when I send you stuff, you put them in those empty jewel cases. And that's pretty much what Steve and I have been doing for years. All right, so what we have in here is, I'm just going to pull these out one at a time here. So this is a sampler from Prog Power USA 5. So it's a sampler, mostly, obviously, progressive rock and power metal. Progressive metal and power metal. Promotional thing only. Jag Panzer, Paramaze. Paramaze is great. Ed Guy. Can they make this stuff any smaller than this? Threshold, Dream Evil. I do a lot of these bands, so I'm just gonna hold it up there. If you got your magnifying glass, you can look at the names of the bands yourself. Really hard to read. A cool graphic in the background, but a cool graphic with unreadable text makes for a lousy design, in my opinion. This next one, oh, this is Ted Nugent. Like Aerosmith, I collect anything Nugent, and this is just a collection, one of those cheapo like Sony Records samplers. My hair is bugging me right now, sorry. It's just one I didn't have. So Ted Nugent, the 70s, so it's just a collection of Nugent stuff, obviously from the 70s. Let's see if it actually is or not. What do we got on here? Free For All, Stranglehold, Cat Scratch Fever, Death by Misadventure, Hey Baby, Paralyzed, Motor City Madhouse, Yank Me, Crank Me Live, Need You Bad, Great White Buffalo Live. So yeah, it is all 70s Nugent. So very cool. One to add to the collection, and if I ever get to update the nolifetilmetal website, it'll be on there. See what's next. Some German thrash, some more Teutonic thrash. Oops, dropped the CD. But this is Tankard, Disco Destroyer. Tankard are as Motorhead or Anvil or AC/DC are. You just know what you're going to get from these guys. They don't really change styles any. They are just a thrash band. They live to thrash and drink beer. So that's what you get with Tankard. Love this band. They have so much stuff out, and I just don't have a whole lot of it. So very cool. Man, there's a lot of CDs in here. Alright, this next one is KXM, which is Doug Pinnick and George Lynch. Doug Pinnick, of course, being from King's X, George Lynch being from Lynch Mob and Dokken. This is a newer release. I think we talked about this one, and I heard it online, and I liked what I heard. I think he asked me if I dug it or not. Excuse me. And then, finally, one more CD in here. Oh, this is also KXM. So I didn't have either one of these, so cool. Looking forward to checking out. I'm a huge fan of King's X and love Doug Pinnick's soulful voice and his bass playing, so looking forward to checking those out. Alright, so what else we got here? My wife picked up this one for me just out of the blue. She came home and she kind of hates the stuff I collect because it just takes up room for her. But she goes, I saw this there, I couldn't not buy it for you. So this is the People magazine exclusive on Aerosmith. It is a pretty fat magazine with all new interviews, and there's tons of information and photos going all the way back to the beginnings of the band. Really nice photography in here. Aerosmith in their own words, basically. So really cool magazine. If you don't have that one, I'm not sure if it's still available or not, but People Special Edition Aerosmith in their own words. 50 years of Aerosmith. I can't remember if I shoot this one or not. I might have, might not have. But this is Metal Hammer, 50 Years of Metal magazine I picked up recently, and this one's pretty cool. It's just tons of stuff. I was just trying to pick out all the different bands on the actual album cover, and I was having a hard time getting them all. But yeah, there's some cool stuff on there. There's some stuff that I think kind of sucks on the cover, but regardless, it's a cool magazine. I haven't even read the whole thing yet. I've read only bits and pieces of it, but I've been digging, just going through it and looking at it and looking at the photos and the advertising and whatnot. I miss stuff like this. I kind of wish the print magazines were still around. The internet's awesome, but you know what? Once the internet stuff disappears, stuff changes, and with this, it's forever. It's in print. It doesn't change. So, Metal Hammer, 50 Years of Metal. I got a cool box too from a friend. I'm not going to show everything in the box because there was a ton of cassettes and all kinds of stuff, but I did want to show this a couple of things that were in here. First of all, there's this banner that's it's massive. I'll never be able to show it on the camera, but it's a silk striper banner, old school striper banner. This is like Soldiers Under Command era striper logo, and this thing's probably a good, I don't know, 5 or 6 feet wide. It's huge, but very cool, man. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet, but regardless, I still think it's cool. I love stuff like this, so regardless if I find room for it or not, it's more than welcome into my collection. And as well, he sent This is a Russian Rio, and 2-disc. I believe it's a 2-disc collection of live stuff of Rush. I've yet to put this one in and play it yet, but looking forward to checking it out. I love Rush. My favorite era of Rush is going to always be the 70s stuff up and through, moving pictures. But I do like a lot of stuff after that too. I just really love the 70s stuff. And much like Priest, you know, I love Priest, but the 70s stuff is unbeatable. I think the same thing about Rush, or Aerosmith, or Ted Nugent. All those bands, I love their 70s stuff the best. So there you go. Rush, Russian Rio, 2 CD set. I think there was a booklet inside here too that was pretty nice. So it's a kind of pull out inside of a sleeve. Yeah, there's a book in here. There's a CD in here. So here's the actual CD itself. It's kind of a trifold insert with 2 discs. There is a bonus CD, basically a greatest hits CD, most likely studio tracks. 74 through 87 is what it says. And then there is also a booklet, probably about a 24-page booklet with lots of reading material and, let's see, yep, photos. So cool stuff, man. Rush, live in Rio. So that's it. I'm going to cut this one off. I mean, like I said, there's a ton of cassettes in here too. I'll show a few of those. There's a Hot Metal Summer. This was cool, a cool little compilation. It had like bits and pieces of tracks. You know, it was like Intense Records released this back in the day. It was like, and it showed bands like had bands talking about what their next record was going to be, playing on their guitar bits for what the next, or playing demos from stuff that was going to be coming out soon. Pretty cool. It's my favorite part on this is Vengeance Rising. There's a little piece, and Roger Martinez is talking about the new album, and he plays a track that never made the 3rd album. Ended up, you know, because the band split. So that track ended up going to Once Dead, and Vengeance recorded a completely different album. So it's pretty neat little artifact there. Let's see what else we got here. Deliverance, Stay of Execution. Malachi, very Queensryche-ish, heavy metal from the 80s. This was their 2nd full-length album. They had actually put out a full-length before this on vinyl and cassette. Then they had put out a 7-inch single after this, and then this one came out. And they have since released a retrospective that has all the music on it, and it's a huge booklet inside of it. What else we got here? Tourniquet, Carry the Wounded EP. Kind of an oddball EP because it's got some tracks that you know, it was an EP, so they were able to do some stuff that they wouldn't normally put on an album. The Best of Mortification, 5 years. Death metal, the early years of Mortification. And the last one I'm going to show you here is the Crucify crossover thrash, Pillars of Humanity, original cassette pressing from on Ocean Records. So there you go. That's my rock haul video. Hope you all enjoyed that one. A little bit different from the stuff I usually show, but I just had some great friends, sent some really cool stuff, and wanted to share it with y'all. So that's it. God bless. Stay strong.